That is the White House on a Thursday. It is rainy here in D.C. It's muggy. It's like 92% humidity. Ugh. By the way, President Trump will not be working 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. today. That would be the previous AutoPen president. But President Trump working 24/7, making the Energizer Bunny look weak. Welcome back, everybody, to American Sunrise. All right, President Trump signed an executive order officially labeling Antifa a domestic terrorist organization. The order reportedly directs administration officials to investigate and stop, quote, any and all illegal operations reportedly carried out by Antifa. It also instructs to find those who fund the operations. Trump promised to make the move in the wake of Charlie Kirk's assassination. For analysis, let's bring in someone who knows Antifa, former Antifa activist Gabriel Nadales. Gabriel, thanks for being here. Hey, before we ask you the first question, or when I ask you the first question, I want to show you some video because this week there were around about 50 to 100 demonstrators. There it is there, including Antifa members surrounding the Eugene Federal Building that housed ICE officers. Some of them were arrested. You know, Gabriel, the executive order by the president sounds great. You wonder how, though, you go about dismantling Antifa. Joe Biden said it was an ideology rather than a group or an organization. So clue us in, and good morning to you.
Good morning, and thank you for having me. And you know, there is truth to the fact that Antifa is an idea, but what makes Antifa different is that it's a very consolidated set of ideas that have been adopted by several different groups. But the best way to understand Antifa is not as an organization, but as a movement. Within this movement, you have several different radical left-wing organizations. Some of them call themselves Antifa, but a lot of them don't. And you know, in Portland, you have Rose City Antifa. In Berkeley or like San Francisco, or you have the Bay 161. You have many other organizations that don't call themselves Antifa. Yet they're all united in this idea that it is not only okay, but it is basically mandated to use political violence as a means to affect their political goals.
This is so absolutely fascinating that, you know, the average person out there in America just doesn't know this kind of thing. Tell us how you were first recruited and then how it is that you decided to leave Antifa.
Sure thing. So I will tell you that I was part of the Antifa movement long ago, before it even became a household name. I was 17 at the time. This is 2011. I've been an activist for quite a while at this point on the left. And I remember I went to an anti-neo-Nazi rally just because I wanted to oppose Nazis, you know, and I happened to meet some people there who were part of the anti-fascist movement. So that's how I was involved in the anarchist movement as a whole. I mean, I did quite a few different things with them all throughout Southern California in the early 2010s for about a year and a half. But then I realized very quickly that this was not the people for me. First of all, like they ideologically, it just didn't really like. I started to have a lot of questions about like a lot of the people who a lot of my friends, you know, especially because I had just read something like by Thomas Sowell. And I remember thinking that this was incredibly interesting, but as soon as I talked to my friends about them, they would dismiss me. They call me a capitalist pig, all these different things. And it made me realize that these people weren't really interested in the truth. They were just interested in listening to their own
rhetoric.
Yeah.
Gabriel, I'm curious. I'm just going to get right to it. During your time with Antifa, or being engaged in that activism, as you call it, were you paid? Where did the money come from? Were you party to, or did you witness crimes?
So I can tell you a couple of things. First of all, no, I was not paid. Like the Antifa activists are not paid. And there's this idea that like a lot of them are paid activists. And I think that's actually a very dangerous idea because it denies the fact that a more dangerous truth, the fact that there is a lot of grassroots activists, we'll call them grassroots activists and stuff, but very much at the grassroots level that absolutely hate America. They're not doing this for a paycheck. They're doing this because they absolutely hate what America stands for. I think that's a much more dangerous concept that we have to tackle. As far as like where some of the sources of funding comes from, it really depends from group to group. There's no national organization or international organization that is funding the whole operation. But if you look at specific instances, you will find certain different groups that do receive some funding. One of the first persons that I think about is actually Mark Bray, who is the author of the Anti-Fascist Handbook. He wrote a book about 5-6 years ago now. in which he said that he was donating half the proceeds of his book to an unnamed Antifa organization. And you also have, I remember there was a GoFundMe. I actually didn't remember it was a GoFundMe, but it was one of those like fundraising websites a few years ago, in which AOC and Anna Presley, Representatives Anna Presley and AOC, they were fundraising to get Antifa out of jail. So there is some funding in some instances, but it's not a widespread funding by like an international NGO or something like that. At least I have no evidence of that.
So
how
then
about the
question
crime part of the question? I'm sorry,
sure.
I think this is also, how about the crime part of the question? Were you party to? Did you witness crimes? Do these organizations, the crimes that they commit, do they rise to terrorism in your mind?
So it's interesting because the definition of terrorism doesn't really matter on severity. It's more about intent. So you could beat somebody up, or you can throw a bomb, and then that it beats terrorism if it was made with the intent to effectuate your political goal. That is a basic definition of terrorism. So a lot of people think Antifa doesn't fit terrorism because they'll think of terrorism, they think of 9/11, they think of like bombings, all these different things, but that's not what it is. It's also intimidation and violence. So that's that. As far as some of the things that I witnessed, I mean, I was part of the events of the Occupy protests in Los Angeles, and I remember that I did see like police get like hit. I remember this one person that I used to know. He actually punched a cop like pretty much almost in front of me, and then a few other activists, they actually grabbed him into. Well, let me take this step back. He was getting arrested. This one guy was getting arrested. Another guy saw what was going on and actually ran up to the officer and punched him in the face. And then two other activists, they grabbed the one who was getting arrested, and they went back into the black-bloc, which is, for those of you who don't know, the black-bloc is, as you're seeing on the screen, everybody's wearing black. They're covering their faces. That's some of the stuff that I did witness. And what do they call it? So it doesn't have to rise to the level of like grand explosions with thousands dead. That the basic definition of terrorism is violence or intimidation in purpose of serving a political goal.
Are you safe? Yeah. Quickly, we're out of time, but I just want to know, like, have you had death threats and things since you left and started talking?
Something, I'm very far removed. This is from 2011. A lot of the people that I know, I don't even know what they're doing anymore. I do know that one of them passed away. One of my friends back, I can't remember how many years ago now, but he actually passed away like a drug abuse or whatever. He actually drowned like when he was like high. And I can tell you that a lot of those people, it's only some people who are actually very dangerous. A lot of the people tend to not have the greatest outlook on life, and like they don't tend to make the best decisions in life, if you will. So I'm so far removed that I don't really hear from anybody from that world.
Gabriel Nadales, really interesting. We got to have you back. We have so many more questions.
We have a lot of questions.
So
thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Gabriel.
Thanks so much. All right. Coming up, autism cases have been rising in the U.S. now for decades. We know this. How is the Make America Healthy Again campaign aiming to tackle it? We've got information. Stay tuned to find out. Back in a moment, everybody.